I read more Conan! Yeah, more than halfway through Conan, officially. Cool. I guess as far as non-spoilers go, it's like, See, I wouldn't say I'm burnt out, but I definitely thought there were parts of the reading I wasn't as into, even though more important stuff was happening. And I think I know why, but I'll talk about that. But it's just yeah, the murders still managed to be fairly like distinct, or rather, they're fresh. Like there's not a lot of reuse and stuff. It's continuing on with that. As far as like character and plot stuff, like yeah, this reading had some of the stuff I was the most invested in. That's happened so far, but also, like, I think I realized, yeah, Haibara is just, like, probably my favorite character, because this reading I felt like had a lot less of her. Especially, like, the second half, I felt like, if not the whole thing. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, maybe that's just why I'm not feeling it. It's not like that she was super involved in this stuff, a lot of this, the major stuff, or all of it, rather, but, I don't know, just something I noticed. But yeah, moving into spoilers, properly, because, like, you had, Ron solving her own mystery, sort of. And yeah, getting some advice from Shinichi in particular, because, like, she didn't have the confidence, she didn't have confidence, and Shinichi mentioned that, like, that's kind of normal. Like, she's just never been in that position before. So it's kind of nice to see that. There was a good one on the fishing boat with Agasa, where the kids were just trying to get him a fish, and for his birthday, and that was nice. And then you had the whole analogy with, Haibara, there was the fish, and Conan said, oh yeah, you should cool your hands off first, because, human body temperature is too hot for fish to handle, if you're going to return them. And then they sort of I like how the mysteries sometimes work with, like, the analogy or the metaphor that they're kind of using for the character stuff. Like, in that case, Haibara felt like the kindness of the kids was too hot for her. So, like, because they're just so bright, and, they are helping her, and she's, a bit. And it's good. But yeah, I think one thing that maybe hindered me a bit with the second part of the reading was Eisuke, where he's clumsy, which I was suspicious of immediately, and he had a connection to Rena, and I was just kind of like when they were like, oh no, there's no way, look at the blood type, he can't be, she can't be his sister, and I'm like, I don't buy it for a second. Like, speaking of predictions, is last time I mentioned, Chris and Sharon might be the same person, and I realized after the fact that no, that's, I don't know, because like the drug that reduces the age, like, Haibara invented that, and Chris was around before Haibara would have done that. So how could Sharon have aged down to become Chris? And I still don't. And then they actually fucking yeah, no, this was it. And I was like, what? So it's like I kind of predicted it, but also it still surprised me. Where with the Eisuke thing and his sister, I kind of predicted it, and I don't know, in that case, I just didn't feel surprised at all. So I was just a little less invested, I guess. And I'm kind of just maybe not particularly invested in either of them as characters in the first place, where, like, with Chris, she's, like, Haibara was also involved in that stuff, and I am a little bit interested in what's going on with her. And of course, like, there was the Jody sensei, like, twist where she was suspicious, and Amai too, like, because they're in the FBI, and I was like, oh, okay, because they're being shady for volumes, and no, it's okay, now we got it figured out. The Halloween stuff, the Halloween murder mystery, which, like, I'll compare. I don't. It's not a problem per se. I like it comparably to FBI versus the Organization. And to explain why I think that is, it's because with Hollywood stuff, or not Hollywood, Halloween stuff, the murder mystery was, like, deliberately kind of tertiary. It's, like, or secondary even, like, not tertiary, that's a little much. But, like, it's a distraction. And so, and it works with some of the reveals, particularly, like, oh, Shinichi's there. No, wait, no, it's actually Tatsuri. And Conan, or Haibara is Conan in disguise. Like, that was a really good moment where it's just like, what the fuck? But, like, there's still time spent on the actual, like, mystery and deductions themselves, while also, like, there's major plot shit going on with, like, Chris is gonna fucking kill Haibara, and it's like, I don't care about the mystery. Go back to this. Which, in comparison, I think the FBI versus Organization stuff, with Chianti and Mori almost getting fucking killed. Like, in that case, like, the deduction stuff was worked into the plot stuff. So I wasn't as, like, so there was none of that, like, oh no, this thing that's happening that I don't care about, and this stuff that I do care about is, like, well, it's not happening at this moment because it's focusing on, I mean, again, not care is a bit harsh. It's just, like, it's a normal-ass murder mystery involved with this major plot stuff, and I'm like... like I'm gonna get another murder mystery like in 5 chapters. I don't like whatever, right? Where, like I said, in the case with the FBI versus organization, the deduction was worked into the plot stuff, and I just, even though I think the content of the Hollywood stuff with the reveals and the tensity, like, is probably like the peak of the manga so far. I do also really like the FBI versus organization because, like I said, the way it's worked together. They're still keeping up with like the god and angels motif a bit, like with there was the bit where I think it was Eisuke, maybe it was someone else, describing the sleeping Kogoro, where when Mori falls is knocked out by Conan and divines the truth, and someone said like, oh, maybe it's God who's speaking through you or something like that, and it's like, oh, is Conan supposed to be God? But he also said he'd be willing to be a devil if he needed to be. And of course, Ai's mom is Hell's Angel because she was a good person in this terrible organization. That was like at the very start of the reading, I feel like, so I'm just like, oh yeah, that happened, and then, oh, less hype out of this reading. There was the one case where, like, she and Agasa made up a cipher for Conan and the kids, and Conan's just, like, distracted and they're just being, like, smug, because, he's just not, he's behind a bit, and, it is nice to see, because he's usually, like, he's really smug and confident. Like, a lot of chapters end with where he, like, makes a deduction and he just gets a smug ass look on his face. So, like, there was the one I read today. It was the poisoned coffee with the cake, and he was tripped up for a moment because he was like, wait, this is an impossible crime. Like, there was a trick that he couldn't figure out after he'd already tried to deduce some things, and like, he was actually, like, tripped up and confused for a second there, and kind of nice to see him out of his element like that, because, like, he's normally smart enough to not be in that position, so seeing that little difference was nice. I'm still just waiting for them to advance more on, like, and I'm probably gonna have to wait another 40 volumes or so, if not more, but, like, because I just keep thinking, like, every time he does, he knocks out Mori, like, yeah, he's a prideful, obnoxious dumbass, but, like, he's not completely incompetent. He is able to, like, get to the solution with the right, nudging, and Conan just kind of takes that from him a lot of the time. So I don't know. Maybe it's never gonna happen. And yeah, there was some little fun stuff occasionally, like the one chapter where Mori was, like, trying to hide from everyone because he was avoiding the kids who he'd have to, like, give New Year's money to. That made me laugh. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely feel like I'm at the point where I just have, like, less to say. Because I don't know, like, I'm not interested in quite enough, like, again, like, I made the Gintama comparison earlier, and I definitely felt that more this reading because, it gave me, 2 cases in particular I really liked, and then it just, mostly it's just the normal, like, I feel like, I think I remember this happening to me with, I think it was at times in the Hajime no Ippo, when I watched that, where it's just, like, the setup and build-up, and even part of the actual fight, I was just kind of like, this is fine, I'm just reading it or watching it and just going along. And then it hits some, like, climactic point or the fight itself in general, and I'd be, like, really into it. And, like, it's just kind of unbalanced, I guess, with Conan. And, again, like I mentioned Gintama, where it's, like, Gintama had some really good stuff, and it had some stuff I was mostly fine with, and then occasionally there was just some annoying stuff that I didn't like. And I wouldn't say Conan really doesn't have anything annoying, but it's just, like... I don't think it's going to break through that personal glass ceiling rating with me of being higher than a 7 because, like, it's like 99% fine, and then there's, like, more like 95 or something like that, and 5%, like, really good stuff. Yeah, so it's just, like, I'm just waiting for more. I'm not going to skip, obviously, because, like, especially at this point, I feel like every single fucking case has something. Like, there's the whole stuff with the phone, and the code, Conan thinks he has the fucking phone number to a potential, like, leader of the organization, or at least someone really high up. They found out about bourbon, and he may or may not have moved into Shinichi's house, which is, that feels like super red herring, just the way that they're focusing on it so much, because, But at the same time, I was like, because Haibara is obviously like fucking terrified of him, and Conan's just like, someone who likes Sherlock Holmes can't be a bad guy. And I'm like, you little shit, because he probably knows something. He's a piece of shit. Right? Like if I was going to make a like, oh, here's the important cases guide, like there'd be very few from this reading that I would skip, if any, right? But it's still just like, yeah, it's Conan. I got it. I'm halfway through. It's still Conan. I still am not super invested in the cases. They just, all the little details just don't stick with me much at all. And, I don't have much else to say, really. Like, short episode, but, Conan. It's a manga that I read. I'm halfway through now. One of the longest ones that I've, started. Because, I think, it's pretty much like One Piece, JoJo, and Conan, I think, as far as really long manga that I've read. But, anyway, that's it. Goodbye.